Well, we're out at the cemetery today, and I'm going to show you a few things we're doing. Anyway, we're adding 2 more rows to the back of the cemetery. I'm going to start here. We're about halfway down into the old area. As you can see, the altar down there. We're over towards the north side, and I'm going to show you, this is Butch Powell's grave, and we're putting concrete on top of it. And as I've told you, we have drilled into the adjoining concrete, okay, and put rebar into those holes and then tied rebar on top. And again, as I've said before, this is to keep the grave from coming out, rising, or lowering if it sinks in any way, and so that the concrete stays in the future in a level position, or at least relatively level. We'll pour this probably on Monday. We've still got forms in the back to do, but to give you an example of another, this is one we poured last year, and these are ones that are from the past that have no rebar, and they've cracked, or they've fallen, sunk, tilted. All sorts of things happen out here with this land. But we had one that was put in a couple of years or so ago, and in that case the family did their own concrete, and the concrete has sunk about 1 inch on the back side. We really need to let the cemetery do this, and we charge you $350 for each grave. Our real costs are like $450, but with the money that comes in to help maintain the cemetery and the selling of graves, we're able to cover that. We're also covering 3 graves just a little bit further down from Billy Chook here. These 3 graves will be covered, and as you can see, the concrete is drilled into the adjoining curbs and then tied, and all tied together. Excuse me. Then we have 2 that we're doing over here, so a total of 6 this time that we are covering. And again, real finicky about this, that we must drill into the adjoining curbs, and any other, if there was another grave beside it with concrete, we would drill into it so that this stays relatively level in the future. Now, we had built out to this next row of graves and you can see where we built the wall down there out past where we were. Well, now we are adding another row on each side. Hold on. And they're getting ready to start building the forms for the concrete, and here you'll have a about 28-inch sidewalk, and then a curb coming up. The curb will come down here, similar to the past, exactly, basically, and the curb will be 6 inches here and 6 inches here, going up above the slab, this sidewalk, 4 inches, and then the back curb where the stones are placed, it'll have a 15-inch curb that goes down 14 inches into the ground, and all with rebar in it. And then where the graves will be 94 inches. Now, as I've told you in the past too, that we are making the graves narrower, and also the length of them will be a little bit shorter than what exists now. But you don't need 10 feet to put a casket in a box in the ground. And I know some of this is morbid, but reality tells us that we need to save as much of the land as we can. What we have now, when we're finished with this, and we'll pour again on Tuesday or Wednesday once it dries up. We're supposed to have rain on Monday. But the next time we will need to add to the wall, and we'll probably go out to the front fence. And we'll be able to put in 4 more rows of graves on each side. We had room for 5, and we're doing this one now. So if you're driving past the cemetery, or if you noticed that it was one of your family's graves that I was showing in this video with the rebar and that, you'll know that we're doing the right thing here. But eventually we're going to come out to the fence, and we probably, when we do this, the next group, we're hopeful to get that wall built to the fence, front fence, maybe out to the street, and it'll have an angle going downhill out to near the street, to the end of the property line. But then we will also add 4 rows of graves on this side, and we'll leave this grass until the next time that we want to expand, and this will be a grassy area over here. But even when we when we remodeled the cemetery and again started using the land better, we even put our curb that was ending same distance of the wall to this point. So anyway, that's where we're at this point. Again, this kind of gives you a long shot of everything, and we're hopeful to be pouring out here again when we do the pouring at the church. And we've got that all set up. I'll give you a video today also of the church setting and the wheelchair lift and where we're at on that. So thank you for listening. Come by and see us. Thank you. Bye-bye. Oh, and there's one other thing. There's this there was a crack in the concrete sidewalk in the center, and we are patching that right in this area. It's a little triangle. They'll patch that also. Okay. Good night. Bye-bye.